Welcome to the Deep Dive. It feels like the tech world is just constantly relentlessly moving, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Blink and you miss like 3 major breakthroughs.
Exactly. Every single day there's something new, a fresh wave of AI debates, or maybe a surprising new gadget landing. Trying to keep up feels less like staying informed and, well, more like trying to bottle lightning.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So our mission today is to try and cut through some of that noise for you. We've got a stack of recent reports, interviews, newsletters, and we want to distill the really important stuff, the actionable insights. Okay, let's unpack this.
And we're really casting a wide net today. We'll get into some high-level strategic stuff like, Europe's whole position in the global AI race, which is complicated. But we'll also zoom right in on some fascinating new hardware, new phones, new EVs, and even clear up a tech rumor or two that's been doing the rounds. Yeah, the goal isn't just the what happened, but giving you the context, connecting those dots, helping you understand why it matters so you can walk away feeling genuinely clued in.
Absolutely. And our sources today are pretty solid recent tech newsletters giving us that industry pulse, plus a really revealing interview with a major tech CEO offers a specific, but I think widely impactful perspective on where things are heading.
Definitely.
So let's dive right in. First big topic, how should Europe navigate this global AI race? We've seen 2 really different viewpoints pop up in our research lately. What's sort of at the heart of this tug of war?
Yeah, it's a fundamental strategic question, really. So on one side, you've got the perspective from the SAP CEO. He's basically arguing that Europe shouldn't try to go head-to-head with the US or China on the foundational infrastructure.
Meaning the chips and the massive data centers.
Exactly. The giant chip fabs, the hyperscale data centers.
Yeah.
He feels that battle, well, it's maybe already been largely decided, or at least heavily invested in, by players who've poured hundreds of billions into it already.
Okay, so if Europe isn't building the raw computing power, what's the strategy then? According to him, where should they focus?
His core argument is that, and I quote loosely here, the AI race is not decided yet on the software layer. He really thinks Europe's competitive edge lies in developing the best AI use cases for its super strong industrial sectors.
Like manufacturing, logistics.
Precisely. Think life sciences, advanced manufacturing, complex logistics areas where Europe has deep, really deep expertise. He also points out something interesting. There isn't actually a shortage of data centers or a lack of chip demand for big AI training in Europe right now, not like we've seen in the US. So his logic is kind of like, you don't build a massive factory before you have customers lining up, right?
Build the demand first.
Exactly. Create those killer AI applications, first optimizing complex supply chains, maybe AI for drug discovery, and then the need for the underlying compute power, those chips and data centers, it'll surge naturally to support that innovation. It's about pulling the market, not just pushing the tech.
Okay, that makes a certain kind of sense. Build the demand.
Yep.
But that sounds like it's directly contradicting what others are saying. Like NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang. He seems to think infrastructure is absolutely crucial, non-negotiable, really.
It is a direct contrast, yeah. Huang's argument is basically, if you don't build the data centers and fill them with chips, you're just not a serious player in AI. You don't control the fundamental building blocks.
So what does this mean for Europe's tech future, then? It feels like a major fork in the road.
It really does. Huang would point to the massive AI infrastructure investments in the US and China as proof, right? You can't just be an apps player.
But the SAP CEO's point
Is also strong. If you build it all, but nobody has the truly groundbreaking applications to run on it, what's the point? It's a huge dilemma. And this whole debate ties directly into this evolving idea of sovereignty in tech.
Sovereignty. That word comes up a lot. How does the SAP CEO see it? Because it's usually tied to hardware, isn't it? Like building your own chips.
Traditionally, yes. But he offers a really insightful redefinition. He argues true sovereignty isn't really about where the physical components come from. Whether there's US or Chinese tech inside a server, components are sourced globally anyway.
So it's not about the physical box.
Not primarily, no. For him, sovereignty is fundamentally about where your data is located, who actually has access to that data, and critical things like encryption.
Okay, that's a big shift from hardware ownership to data control.
Exactly. It suggests the new battleground isn't just manufacturing capacity, it's about trust, it's about data governance, controlling your digital destiny.
Right.
Think about finance, healthcare data location, and access are everything.
So how does that play out practically?
Well, take SAP, for instance. They have their own data center right there in Germany, so they can offer customers a European cloud managed by SAP. The data stays in Europe, managed by a European company. That, for him, is a form of sovereignty.
Right. But what about relying on the big U.S. cloud providers, the hyperscalers? Isn't that still a dependency?
That's a common concern, yeah. But he apparently sees them more as partners. They provide incredibly robust infrastructure automation, high reliability stuff businesses really need for critical data. And he stresses that customers still have the choice. They can shift workloads to European data centers like SAP's own.
Yeah.
So it's not presented as this absolute unavoidable dependency. There's choice involved.
Interesting reframe on sovereignty. But if it's about data control, that brings us right to regulation, doesn't it? Specifically, the EU AI Act.
Yeah.
That's causing quite a stir. What's the critique there, especially from a CEO perspective?
Yeah, the SAP CEO had some pretty direct thoughts on this. His main worry seems to be that discussions in Brussels often jump straight to regulation before they even talk about competitiveness and opportunities. He's sort of asking, hey, can we maybe talk about being competitive first?
The argument being lead with innovation, then regulate effectively.
Kind of. His point is, if you're already leading in innovation, you're in a much stronger position to shape sensible regulation. Plus, he argues, right now, there aren't that many AI use cases in Europe that truly need the heavy level of regulation being discussed yet.
So it's less about whether to regulate and more about the timing and the practicalities.
Exactly that. The intent behind the act might be fine. Governing powerful tech makes sense. But the biggest practical problem he points to is fragmentation.
The classic EU issue.
Right. Member states still have their own AI policies on top of the EU Act, so you end up with overlapping, sometimes conflicting rules. He compared it to going to 5 doctors and they sell you 5 times the different thing.
Ouch. And the impact of that.
Well, the critical consequence, and this really stood out to me, is how it just stifles startups. Imagine being a small, innovative AI company trying to navigate 27 different sets of rules. It must be a nightmare.
Yeah, that sounds impossible for scaling.
Totally. It makes it incredibly hard for them to scale their tech across Europe. You need one unified framework, not dozens of interpretations. It feels like Europe might be unintentionally putting up barriers instead of building bridges for its own innovators.
That's a massive point. Okay, shifting from the policy maze. How is AI actually impacting the people building it day to day? We saw a study about AI coding tools that had a pretty surprising result.
Yeah, this was unexpected. A study by METR, they're an AI research group, looked at tools like Cursor, AI coding assistants. And the surprise finding, for experienced developers, using these tools actually increased their completion time by 19%.
Wait, slower. 19% slower for the experienced folks. That really goes against the whole AI boosts productivity narrative we hear constantly.
It really does. It definitely makes you pause. My first thought was, okay, is this like early automation in other fields where initially it actually required more human oversight until the tech matured?
Maybe. Or maybe the tools aren't quite smart enough yet for complex tasks.
Could be. It challenges that simple idea that AI just instantly makes everything faster. Human integration is tricky. It might suggest that for really complex, nuanced coding, the AI needs to become more of a truly intelligent collaborator, not just a fast code generator that experienced devs feel they have to constantly double-check.
So maybe a temporary speed bump as the tools and the workflows evolve.
Potentially. Or maybe a sign that AI isn't a silver bullet for every single task, especially high-level ones. But it certainly shows the reality is more complex than the hype.
And speaking of complexity and, challenging assumptions, we should also touch on the concerns around AI objectivity, specifically with Elon Musk's XAI Grok 4. He's been pretty vocal about his goals, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Musk's claims Grok 4 is maximally truth-seeking. That's a very bold claim for an AI.
Maximally truth-seeking, okay. But how's that playing out in reality?
Well, some testing has shown that when you ask it about controversial topics, the chatbot often seems to consult Musk's own posts on X and sort of general public opinion on X as part of its response generation.
So it's potentially reflecting the founders' views or the platform's discourse?
That's the concern, yeah. It raises big questions about its alignment. Is it truly objective, or is it kind of aligned with the biases or viewpoints of its creator and the X platform? And that also makes you wonder about its readiness for mainstream use, especially since Musk wants to integrate it into Teslas.
Right, you'd want something pretty neutral in your car's interface.
Definitely. It really highlights this ongoing debate about built-in biases in large language models and just how crucial it is to understand their training data and alignment before we roll them out everywhere.
Okay, so from AI strategy and regulation debates, let's switch gears completely. Let's talk hardware. Tangible stuff. There's been a flurry of activity phones, EVs, even robots. What caught your eye on the phone front?
Well, nothing launched its phone, 3. It's priced at $799, kind of aiming high. It's got that quirky second screen thing they do, more AI features baked in, and generally flagship-level specs trying to compete with the big guys.
The Nothing phones always have that distinct look. How's it being received?
Seems like mixed reactions, honestly. To the design, the pricing, it's definitely a statement piece trying to carve out a niche. But it might remain more of an alternative rather than a direct replacement for, say, a Samsung or an iPhone for most people. Market seems maybe a bit cautious about that level of design risk.
Interesting. Anything else phone-wise?
Samsung also unveiled its latest foldables, the Z Fold 7, the Z Flip 7, and crucially, a more affordable Z Flip 7 FE model. That FE version is interesting. It signals they're serious about pushing foldables into the mainstream, making them maybe a bit more accessible. They're clearly betting big on that form factor.
Yeah, making foldables more affordable could be a big step. Okay, moving from pockets to driveways, the EV space, still moving incredibly fast. What's new there?
Rivian just rolled out new quad-motor versions of its R1T pickup and R1S SUV, and these things are, wow, absolute performance monsters.
How powerful are we talking?
Over 1,000 horsepower, 1,025 horsepower apparently, 0 to 60 in under 2.5 seconds. Yeah. Plus some fancy new software tricks like a kick turn feature for tight spots and something called RE Tuner for customizing the driving modes, but the price tag is also monstrous, over $115,000.
Okay, so definitely not mass market yet, more like Halo products.
Exactly, until their cheaper R2 models arrive, supposedly in 2026. It kind of highlights that tension in the EV world, right? Can the super high-end tech trickle down fast enough?
Good point. Any signs of more affordable disruption?
Potentially. There's this stealthy startup, Slate Auto, based in Michigan, apparently backed by Jeff Bezos. They've just unveiled plans for what they call an ultra-affordable, customizable electric pickup truck, targeting production for late 2026.
Ultra-affordable and customizable. That sounds ambitious and potentially game-changing if they pull it off.
Could be huge, yeah. Making EV trucks accessible to a much wider audience could really shake up the whole market. Definitely one to watch.
For sure. Okay, and what about robotics? Anything interesting happening there, especially for developers?
Yeah, Hugging Face, the big AI community hub.
Open source models and tools.
Right. They've opened orders for a new open source desktop robot called Reachy Mini. Starts at just $299. It's a build-it-yourself kind of kit.
$299. That's pretty accessible. What can it do?
Well, it's fully programmable in Python, tightly integrated with the Hugging Face hub. It's really aimed squarely at AI developers. The idea seems to be to give them a physical platform right on their desk to experiment with AI in the real world without needing, industrial-grade robotics. Accelerate development by letting people tinker physically.
That sounds cool. A tangible way to test out AI concepts.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, let's wrap up with a few quick tech tidbits. Interesting stories, maybe a clarification or two. I heard something about cloud seeding.
Yes, the Texas floods. There was this story going around, maybe even bordering on conspiracy theory, blaming a technique called cloud seeding for how bad the storms were. Some startup named Rainmaker got mentioned.
Right, cloud seeding. That's trying to make it rain more, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's been around since the 50s. You spray tiny particles, usually silver iodide, into clouds to try and encourage precipitation. But our sources pointed to Professor Bob Robber. He's an atmospheric sciences expert. He basically called the accusation a complete conspiracy theory.
Okay, so definitively debunked.
Pretty much. He said any influence from cloud seeding on storms that massive would be barely a rounding error. It just wasn't the cause. Good old-fashioned severe weather was responsible. Important clarification given how fast misinformation spreads.
Absolutely. Good to clear that up. What else is quick news?
Well, Linda Yaccarina stepped down as CEO of X after about 2 pretty tumultuous years there. Her time saw some recovery in their ad business, but obviously a very challenging period navigating the platform under Musk.
Right.
Also, Apple is apparently tweaking its new iOS 26 liquid glass design. They're dialing back some of the transparency effects in notifications and Apple Music because users were complaining about readability. So still fine-tuning that balance between cool aesthetics and actual usability before the final launch.
Always a tricky balance.
And finally, Jack Dorsey, Twitter co-founder, he's been working on a new messaging app called BitChat. It uses Bluetooth, not Wi-Fi or cell signal.
Bluetooth messaging, how does that work over distance?
It creates a mesh network. Your phone connects directly to another nearby phone using BitChat, which connects to another and so on. It extends the range. It can work even if there's no cell service or Wi-Fi.
Interesting concept for off-grid communication.
Yeah, it's in closed beta now, but some security researchers are already scrutinizing its claims about security and privacy, so still early days. And questions remain about how robust that decentralized approach really is.
Wow. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground today. From huge strategic AI questions in Europe, surprising impacts of coding tools, down to the latest EVs, phones, and even debunking some rumors.
It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? And how fast it all keeps changing.
Absolutely. So, wrapping this all up, what does this all mean as we look ahead? What's the bigger picture takeaway?
I think it just underscores that technology keeps reshaping things at this incredible pace, often in ways we don't quite see coming. Like we saw, innovation isn't just about raw power or speed, right? It's about strategy, it's about regulation, it's even about how we humans interact with these new tools in unexpected ways. Which maybe leads to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. As you see this constant stream of tech news, where do you think the next truly big aha moment will come from? Is it going to be in that foundational infrastructure, the chips and data centers? Is it the innovative software that runs on top? Or maybe, just maybe, it's the unexpected application of a tool we already have, but used in a completely new way that really changes the game?
That is a great question to ponder, something to think about as you go about your day. Thanks for diving deep with us today on The Deep Dive. We hope you enjoyed this run-through of the latest in tech.